Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Welcome to How to Make Your Online Marketplace Stand Out in the Crowd, a webinar by iovox. My name is Sonia Patterson. I'm the Social Media and Marketing Manager at iovox, and I'll be your host today. Just a couple of housekeeping things here before we get started. We'd love to get a bit of audience participation here as we go along. So we have a chat feature that you can use. If you have questions throughout the presentations, please do feel free to use the chat feature to ask your questions. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat, and we will get to your questions during our question and answer section. We will have 2 presentations today and 1 Q&A section following the presentations. Today, our presenters will be sharing 2 iovox solutions, iovox WebConnect and iovox Insights, why they are important, how they bring value to online marketplaces, and how you can leverage them to grow and improve your business. We are recording this webinar, and at the end, we'll be sending it out to everyone who registered. So if you didn't catch something or you have to leave early, please don't worry. We will send you the recording of this at the end. We also have a special one-time offer that we will reference at the end of the webinar, and that will be in the email that we send around as well with the recording. So let's dive in. We have Wyem Dardouri, the product evangelist at iovox, here with us, and James Gray, the director of global marketplaces at iovox, here to share 2 fantastic products with you all. Wyem, please, whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Sonia. Hi, everyone. I am Wyem Dardouri, and I am product evangelist at iovox. I have joined the team almost 11 years ago now. And I've been working mainly within the commercial department and been in sales and account management position in the past. So those roles always generated interesting conversations with customers and prospects, which were fed back to the product team. And I always enjoyed the fact that we could help build exciting new features for our customers. Now I'm basically playing the role of a bridge between our customers and our product team, helping our commercial team with a joint goal, which is customer satisfaction. I have always enjoyed meeting with customers, and this new role allows me to focus really even more on our customer needs and see how we can meet them. This is an exciting thing to be able to share and present our newest innovations and gather feedback to make sure that our products are always getting better. Please let me now introduce you to one of our newest members of the iovox team, James Gray. James?
Thanks, Wyem. Good afternoon, everyone. And once again, thanks very much for joining us today. We know you've all got a busy schedule, so we appreciate you taking the time out. I think it's great to see there's some familiar names that are registered and participating today. And even though I can't see your faces, it's good to reconnect in a way. By way of brief introduction, I've worked in the online marketplaces space now for about the last 20 years, starting at the REA group in Australia. I think it was around about 2000 when we were in a number 2 position in the market. The internet, believe it or not, was still a new thing or a passing phase, as some of our advertisers told us at the time, through to about, I think it was about 2013, by which time we were a very clear leader in Australia, operating in multiple countries and regarded as the biggest property portal in the world. Over the last, I suppose it's 10 years or so, I've been fortunate to remain in this space working for a variety of businesses, some of which you may know, Property Portal Watch, online marketplaces, and property portal accelerators. And I was really lucky during that time to travel a lot, but also to get a lot of exposure to lots of different models operating in lots of different countries around the world. I think we'd all agree that the space within which we all work continues to change and change really rapidly. And it's kind of hard to keep up to date or let alone ahead of all of these new technologies and models that seem to emerge on a daily basis. And the fact of the matter is that's why we're doing today's webinar, and our plan is to do a lot more of them over the coming months, to share new products with you, share a lot of case studies from our various partners from around the world and from different verticals as well, and to share ideas on how we think you can engage more effectively with your customers and your consumers, and I suppose ultimately differentiate yourself from your competitors. Back to you, Wyem.
Thanks, James. So the first new product I would like to introduce you to is iovox WebConnect. In the marketplaces industry, we know there are some challenges such as the brand awareness playing a really important role on the perception of value and lead generation. Marketplaces need to increase it because without clear insights, the ownership of leads they are sending can be wrongly associated with their competitors, especially if they're a challenger in the market. Then we also have spam. The spam can be a real issue on the lead quality perception. For example, for marketplaces who offer solutions to private advertisers, many of them decide not to display their personal phone number online because they're worried about spam calls. Then we have another one, which is quite important. It's the cost. In some territories, the cost to use tools such as call tracking numbers can be very expensive, or it will be too expensive to use it for all of their customers, for example, in the private advertising marketplaces. And then we have also the availability. In some places, call tracking numbers are sometimes not even available, like in some countries in Asia, Latam or Africa. So in order to overcome those challenges, we have developed iovox WebConnect. So I'm going now to let Sonia share with you a short video to introduce you to our latest innovation.
I'm Sonia from iovox, and today we're sharing the powerful new iovox WebConnect solution. WebConnect is a button you can install on any web page that enables real-time communications and comes with full call tracking capabilities. With a simple JavaScript snippet added to any website, WebConnect lets visitors browsing your site initiate instant communications with your company by tapping a button. When deployed with iovox call tracking and analytics, you get instant access to attribution details of the customer journey on your website. Calls can be initiated from any web browser, mobile or otherwise. When a visitor taps a WebConnect button, they can be connected to you or your website clients or advertisers. And you decide what should happen with the call, including options like playing short whisper recordings to increase brand awareness.
This is a call from IO Real Estate.
Inserting an IVR option to have the call redirect to the right person, and for your company to understand what options are the most selected to optimize your service.
Press 1 for sales.
You can have your WebConnect calls sent to voicemail and then listen to them when you are available. And you can even route WebConnect calls to SIP connections for large call centers.
So as seen in the video, iovox WebConnect is a WebRTC solution, which allows calls to be generated via browsers without the need for phone numbers. This means that you can include buttons on your website, which will, by clicking on them, generate a call to you or your advertisers, and you can associate multiple functionalities to those buttons. We can, there are many benefits when using iovox WebConnect, and I'm going to focus on some of them with you. So first, there is no need for phone numbers, so there is no cost for number rental. Then we also have the option for the advertiser to know exactly where the calls are coming from, thanks to whispers, the little audio message which is played before the connection, the analytics, and you can also generate alerts so that the brand awareness increases. There is also the option to access additional information, such as the user session ID to link the customer journey to the call, the listing which has been called, etc., and share that information in real time. As there is no number appearing, advertisers are protected against spam and can disconnect their WebConnect buttons as soon as items are sold. With all the data collected, marketplaces can do A/B testing to understand what is generating calls versus what is not, and advise their customer adequately. So I'm going to go through a few of the use cases we can apply the solution to. There are probably a lot more, but I'm just going to focus on a few of them. So where call tracking is already available at a good price, some customers are currently using iovox WebConnect on mobile devices only in order to track the source of their call traffic via mobile. And with this data, extrapolate on what this data will be for all of their traffic, desktop, mobile, etc. Another use case could be for the private advertisers. As the fee only applies if leads are generated and minutes are used, marketplaces gain insight into what is happening and what is generating calls, can do some A/B testing, etc., without having to pay for a significant number of call tracking numbers. So I think James have a few things he would like to share with you too on that part.
Cheers for that, Wyem. Look, I really love this product, and I think what's most impressive about it is that it actually came directly from customer feedback, so that was great. Now, as mentioned earlier, I've only been here a short time, but in that time, I've obviously had a number of conversations with both existing and potential customers around WebConnect, and there seems to be, I suppose, 3 or 4 common themes that emerge in each of those discussions. And whilst Wyem has covered off many of these, I just thought it was a bit of an opportunity to expand a little bit on the 3 or 4 that resonate strongly with me. I think the word simple immediately comes to mind. Feedback is that WebConnect really is simple to integrate with little or no need to plan out and analyze, for example, the number of static numbers required. There's little need to have to allocate significant resources or time for implementation, and to find that, that magical free slot in your product roadmap where you can fit it in. Little need to spend significant time talking with advertisers or educating them, I suppose, about how you are replacing their telephone number with an alias one. And lastly, it's really simple for the consumer as well. When you think about it from a consumer perspective, it's simply just to click on a button, no matter what device they're using, in order to commence that call or that engagement with the customer or the advertiser. Cost and coverage is definitely another one, particularly relevant in emerging or early stage markets. Historically, there's been a number of conversations with leading players in these markets, and Wyem touched on this, to name a few: Southeast Asia, Africa, Middle East, and LATAM, whereby either the cost of a traditional call tracking solution was simply cost prohibitive, or there was just no coverage, and subsequently they haven't been able to proceed with their needs. WebConnect, fortunately for us and for them, has enabled these conversations, I suppose, to be to recommence and move forward in a positive way. One of the big ones is also around attribution and the recognition of the volume of the leads that you guys generate. Now, over the years, each and every one of you have spent a lot of time and a lot of money reporting to your advertisers around the volume of the leads and the value of the leads that you consistently generate to them on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. Probably the historical way of reporting back has been an end of month report, reporting on things like, page impressions, product views, the number of inspections that you help facilitate book, and emails delivered to reinforce the value that you are representing these guys. But for many, the black hole, I suppose, to coin a phrase, if you like, remains the telephone call. We've got partners that are reporting to us that anywhere between, I think it's 20 or 60%, and I know it's a big range, but 20 and 60% of all of their leads are coming from a telephone call. So I'd sort of suggest that if you're not already doing something relating to tracking of, I think this moving forward provides you with an enormous opportunity to, I suppose, complete that overall attribution around the reporting circle. And lastly, one piece of the offering, and I must admit it's my personal favorite, is that call whisper, that piece of technology where one of your advertisers, every time you generate a lead for them, picks up the phone and is greeted with this is a call brought to you by brand whatever. Now, one of our partners, and I know they're amazing numbers, and we're not all in a fortunate position where we can deliver this sort of volume, but one of our partners reports that they deliver about 1.5 million of these call whispers generated from their leads to their real estate advertisers per month. And if you just sort of take a step back and think about that for a moment, think about the brand recognition that this delivers to them and the cost that this would normally cost you or cost your marketing team to deliver this message on a monthly basis. And I'd suggest pretty strongly that the value being generated there alone is quite significant. Back to you, Wyem.
Thanks, James. So I'm now going to introduce you to a very exciting solution, iovox Insights. When a marketplace wants to understand the quality of what is being said during a call, there is a real lack of visibility, and it can be very difficult for them to perform analysis unless they are able to record their calls and score them. However, with large-scale marketplaces, it is not financially feasible to sample and score at scale by hiring or using staff to listen live and score calls or listen to recorded conversation even. Therefore, they often must trust their gut or their advertisers, so there is a lack of accuracy and visibility. This is why we developed iovox Insights. And like we did for our iovox WebConnect, Sonia is going to share with you a short video to introduce you to our latest innovation.
I'm Sonia from iovox, and today we're sharing the powerful new iovox Insights solution. Insights is a conversational AI service that converts conversations to text that can be analyzed. Insights automates call sampling, uses data to spot trends and predict outcomes, and makes conversations searchable. When you can evaluate 100% of your calls, you gain an understanding of your business like never before. You can improve on quality and even predict the future.
Super. Thank you, Sonia. As seen in the video, with iovox Insights, marketplaces can automate call sampling by converting phone calls to text that can be analyzed. This is basically transcribing the calls to text. We can also evaluate 100% of calls instead of small sample sizes, and you don't have to choose and extrapolate the data. You can also generate automatic alerts if, for example, some of the rules are triggered. We can also gain an understanding of the business that was enrichable before, knowing what is happening in your calls based on outcomes. And finally, we can improve the quality, spot trends, and predict the future, which is pretty exciting. So there are multiple benefits using iovox Insights. I'm just going to name a few. And if I have to name a few, I will say, first, the ability to access to the speech analytics outcomes in the analytics section of the iovox account, and access to all call transcriptions and recording to be able to do some specific analysis. We can also sort calls by type of outcome. For example, has a visit been booked? Have contact details been exchanged? In order to take some actions if required or adjust the strategy. And finally, we can generate limitless criteria trigger alerts to react as soon as some specific keywords have been detected. For example, we could send emails to your call center if some negative keywords have been detected. There could be multiple use cases using our solution, really. So I'm just going to focus on how some of our customers are using it. So some of them will use it really to understand if the customer experience was positive or negative. Did the customer complain during the call, for example? They will also use it to know how well the agents resolved customer complaints. So at the end, was the customer happy at the end of the call? We can also use the technology to evaluate the agent's performance. For example, have the agents collected all the details they were supposed to collect? Was the call a qualified lead? Did the call lead to a booking or a visit? And you can also use the solution to identify new revenue opportunities. And I think James have a few things he would like to share with you.
Thanks again, Wyem. What I thought was interesting is when the guys launched WebConnect recently and showed it to me for the first time, what struck a chord for me as a newbie was that we're very much more than just a call tracking business. To me, we are a business that if you want to really simplify it down, we use the telephone call as like a starting point that then transcribes the call and then converts that transcription into a simple set of data. And that's where I believe the magic sort of begins. Now, I'm confident that you all know how to massage copious amounts of information once it's in a really simple data format. And once again, just to share a couple of live examples of discussions we're having with our various partners, and I suppose, if nothing else, to bring to life how they are seeing iovox Insights in assisting them in either, I suppose, generating new revenue opportunities or reviewing their effectiveness. I'll start with an example of a car portal in Europe that have recently just launched their own finance division. And they're in the process of working with our account management team around establishing a number of keywords that we mentioned earlier on that will actually trigger an email to the appropriate commercial part of their team whenever the term car finance or a derivative of that is mentioned. Another example would be a property portal in the APAC region. And look, they're at the point where they suspect through data, through the sheer volume of traffic and the number of click to phone reveals that they're generating monthly in a particular section of their site, that this section of their site is actually driving significant value to their customers, yet they, the portal, are actually not monetizing it yet. So they're at the process of working closely with us and looking at implementing insights over the next 6 months, capturing the data, and I suppose using that as like a test case to then, for the very first time, put themselves in the position of being able to make an informed judgment about what the new revenue opportunities are, and then how they will stage that, and then how they'll monetize it. Then on the complete other side or flip side of the spectrum, we have a call center business who wants to monitor and review the quality of their call center staff, right down to details like, are they answering the phone on time? Are they answering it appropriately, following the appropriate or suggested script, and solving customer inquiries appropriately, et cetera, et cetera. Now, guys, we're a little bit limited for time here, but there's lots of different examples that we could share. But if any of them resonate with you, or I suppose you'd like to know some more examples that may better suit your business or your vertical type, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks, James. We are now at the question and answer question. Sonia, do we have some questions from you today?
We do. Wyem, James, thanks so much for sharing your insight on these two amazing products. And yeah, we're now in the question and answer section. So if anybody has any questions that you'd like to ask in the chat, now is the time. I have a few questions here just to get us started. So Wyem, James, how much does WebConnect or Insights cost?
I'll take that one, Wyem. Look, we talked about this earlier on, and the beauty of it versus the traditional call tracking solution where you have to buy a telephone number or a series of numbers and minutes. It's a really simple equation, and that is that we do it by minute. And I need to emphasize it's literally cents per minute. So you'll be very pleasantly surprised when you do know the price and we have that conversation with you. And I think the thing to emphasize around that is there is also, sorry to expand on it, Sonia, even more, there's no hidden costs. So we will make sure, like we do with all the other ones, we'll sit there and help you establish what the most effective and appropriate rollout process is for you. And there's no hidden charges too. So, you're going to continue to get the unlimited whispers. There's going to continue to be unlimited data storage. So rest assured that once we agree on that pricing model for you, there's not going to be any little hidden surprises. No one likes surprises.
True. Another question, is Insights available in different languages?
Yes, it is. It's currently used in French, English, Spanish, Italian, German, and a few others I won't mention, but it's available in multiple countries. So if there's any specific country or language you're interested in, let us know and we will let you know if it's available. It's probably the answer probably would be yes.
Perfect. Another question, can I use Insights with any phone system or on any call recording?
Yes, that's totally possible. As long as we have access to the audio files, we will be able to use Insights with it. So yes.
Perfect. Is Insights real time or is it delayed?
So it's almost real time. As soon as the call ends, basically it's a question of a few seconds or minutes depending on the length of the call. So I would say almost real time.
Perfect. Do I need a long-term contract to use WebConnect?
There's always that contract question, isn't there? No, look, obviously our standard terms around agreements are 12 months, but typically the way it works is we want to work closely with you at the very start to make sure, I suppose, that your objectives are planned or understood from both sides. And there's often a little bit of trial and error. So we work closely with you together, but ultimately, like any business, we want to get or enter into a 12-month agreement when the time's right. So I hope that answers the question there.
A customer journey question. Can I see the prior pages visited by the caller if they use WebConnect to make a call?
Yes, that's totally possible. So as I was saying earlier, we can link the user session ID to the call. So basically you have access to all the customer journey when you access to the call. So that's totally possible.
Okay. Is there a difference in the call quality if I'm not using a telephone number?
No, well, that's exactly the same experience than calling directly. So we have carriers on the back. The only thing which might impact eventually the call quality is your internet connection, because on the browser, on the consumer side, is on the browser. So if his internet quality is not great, then there will be an impact. But that's a bit the same that what you would experience with using Zoom or Skype or whatever other solution you would be using online.
Perfect. So just a few more questions here. Can I get the phone number of the person who uses the WebConnect button to call them back if no one answers?
So that's an interesting question. We have one of our customers who decided when they implemented the solution to request the user and to fill some information before being able to click on the button. So they ask the user to fill up the information about their email address and their phone number. So if you do so, then you will be able to collect this information and attach them to the call. So yes.
All right. Do clients use WebConnect and tracking numbers? Sorry.
Yes, that's totally possible also. So that was also one of the use cases I was speaking about earlier. So for example, you could be using WebConnect on your mobile device, and use iovox numbers on any other type of device. So for example, desktop, and extrapolate the data. Or you could also have the WebConnect button and on the side the phone number. So it's really up to you how you want to display it, but that's possible.
Perfect. Last question. Can I use Insights if I'm not using iovox for any other service?
Well, I think that's connected a bit to what I replied earlier, which is as long as we have access to the audio files or to any kind of file, like for example, we could use Insights also on chat or on transcriptions. As long as we have access to the audio file or transcription, we will be able to use Insights. So yes, that's possible.
Perfect. So I think that'll do for our question and answer section today. James does have something special he would like to share with you all.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Sonia. And I think, guys, like any good webinar, there's always a good special offer at the end, which is exclusive only to you that participated today. Now, the good news is that some of you have already locked in some conversations for after, so this will come as a nice surprise to you that even though you didn't know about it, we will honour that and offer this special offer to you as well. But as you can read on the screen, so any customer that signs up to a standard agreement with us prior to the end of the year will receive $5,000 worth of their, $5,000 of their local currency in service credits. So guys, looking forward to chatting with many of you over the coming days, weeks, etc. about your businesses, and hopefully we'll be able to use this special offer to get you on board.
Cool. We do have one last minute question here in the chat. How does the implementation work technically? Is it an eScript code you need to add to the page, or what is the process like?
So it's a JavaScript code, basically a little snippet to add to the page in order to be able to use the WebConnect. I think the question was for WebConnect, if I'm correct. So yes, you can just add a little JavaScript code to your page. But if you have more questions related to this request, don't hesitate to get back to us and we will be able to give you a bit more details.
Yeah. Well, everyone, that is everything that we have for you today. Thank you so much, Wyem and James, and thanks to all of you for joining us. Like I mentioned at the beginning, everybody will be getting a copy of this recording via email. We would really love it if you shared the video. Please do pass it around. And as Wyem just mentioned, if you have any questions that you didn't get answered or something comes up later in the next week, feel free to write us at hello@iovox.com or give us a call at one of these numbers. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and thanks again, Wyem and James.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, for attending.
Thanks for your time, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.